Well, hi, friends, and let me get my chronometer going here. This is the 107th program in our Raise and Initiations webinar commentary, and believe it or not, we're only 4 book pages from the end. It's late here, but I somehow would like to finish this book after working on it for, well, over a 4-year period, but really for only 2 years. Working on it when I can, and eager to start some work on, let us say, a treatise on white magic, or some of the esoteric psychology books, and so forth. There's so much to do to get these books into our currency, into the currency of our thought. So this is called Healing. It's a little obscure, and maybe we can make some hints or offer some hints. A center of violet, orbed by yellow, melts into red. Well, violet, the color of the seventh ray. Yellow, the color of the mental vehicle, usually considered. And red, the color of the astral body from a certain perspective. Red color of the astral body from a certain perspective. The center of violet. The focus is on the etheric nature, and the mind controls the etheric body. For many, the energy, which is etheric energy, comes from the mind, interestingly enough. Right. Okay. And melts into red. Yellow develops and protects. This is the work of the mind. And the fourth ray, but yellow, if we check the compilations, is also associated with the third ray and the fifth ray. It ensheathes the nucleus. When you attain the significance of violet, well, this is pretty straightforward, the laws of health and magnetic alleviation will no longer be sealed. We will have these etheric dynamics under control. These etheric, okay, will be under control. This is not the case, but will be the case in this impending seventh ray age, when so many rules of health, now ignored, will be available to us. The seal is being loosed by the devas of the shadows, and these are the violet devas of the etheric plane. What do we have? We have etheric, we have purple, the lowest, and lavender, the highest. Light violet, let's see if I can find these colors. I think they're lavender. Well, there's going to be only a few of those. Here it is. And this is important. These devas of the shadows are of a dark purple on the fourth etheric level, of a lighter purple, much the same color as violet, on the third etheric level, a light violet on the second, while on the atomic subplane they are of a glorious, translucent lavender. So we are speaking definitely of the functions of the devas of the shadows, The seal is being loosed. The seal which prevented, humanity from being able to work constructively and healthfully upon the etheric plane. Constructively, how about that? How about spelling, huh? So is being loosed by the devas of the shadows. The yellow approacheth the violet, and the red progresses. Red is sometimes considered the color of the first ray. The mind and the etheric vehicle are interconnected, and the red is the astral vehicle. The three of them are involved in the white magical process. The ranks approach, and cooperation is possible. The ranks, the devas in their serried ranks. Whoop. I don't have the permission to edit this. That's okay. The devas in their serried ranks. Serried. I guess that's the way we... if we were English, we would spell it differently. I have sort of a mixture here of the English, the United Kingdom language and American language. I make my own mixture of it. The ranks approach, and cooperation is possible. This is increasing during the Age of Aquarius. It's a Devic age. In loosening the seal, the gateway opens. These three are the helpers, and in their hands lies knowledge. For the next generation, not necessarily a generation in terms of years, but a generation, the next spiritual generation, we might say. Next spiritual generation approach. Now we are going to have cooperation between human beings and devas for the benefit of both. Let's, I didn't read this at first, but now we'll read it straight through. Healing. Excuse me. A center of violet, orbed by yellow, melts into red. Thus is the entire spectrum covered, from the red to the violet, low vibration to the high. I'm discovering more things. Okay. The entire spectrum is covered by these two colors, which are the ends, beginning and ending. Okay. A center of violet, orbed by yellow, complementary colors, I guess, melts into red. Yellow develops and protects. It ensheathes the nucleus. When you attain the significance of violet, the laws of health and magnetic alleviation will be no longer sealed. The seal is being loosened or loosed by the devas of the shadows, working under direction, of course, from higher devas. The yellow approaches the violet, and the red progresses. In what way? Moving from red to pink to white. Is that the way the progression occurs? The ranks approach, and cooperation is possible. In loosening the seal, the gateway opens. These three are the great helpers, and in their hands lies knowledge for the next generation approach. So now we are going to have the cooperation between three groups of devas and humanity. So there are many comings together of these kingdoms, and it will all be a part of the technical scientific knowledge of the times. But here are some hints about how we can bring the three together to affect the magical process, and particularly in the Age of Aquarius, which is accompanied by the seventh ray on another cycle. There will be many healthful changes in the etheric body. All right. So that is one of the ones we are reading. This is called The Hidden Portal. I think it should be necessary to read it first. It'll give us the overview. You know, so many of these wonderful DK can get into that library, you know. And that library is, I don't think we have the library card for the libraries that he can enter, but he's shared with us, of course, more than we can ever assimilate, as he tells us. An immense cone of fire is seen in the midst of an arid desert. A man stands in front of the scene in an attitude of indecision. The cone stands between the man and a fruitful country. Rises the cone from out the arid waste. Naught but its heat is felt, naught but its glare is seen. Its flames have swept the country and left the desert bare. It radiates forth a fire that devours all before it. All green things die, and the dwellers on the sphere recede before its flame, scorching and burning, cruel and superb. What a juxtaposition of language. White is its inner heat, heart, red the surrounding flame, and yellow the spreading fire. Like a mantle of fierce heat, it shuts out the vision and obscures the beyond. Like a pall of rosy red, tinged with an orange, deep it veils all in the distance. Like a pall of rosy red, tinged with an orange, is it deep? It veils all in the distance. I'm going to check that, just to make sure that we're like a pall. Let's make sure we're good. Like a pall of rosy red, tinged with an deep orange. Deep it veils all in the distance, like a pall of rosy red, tinged with an orange, tinged with an orange. Deep it veils all in the distance. Maybe a comma would help there. From out the country full and green, across the arid waste, had traveled far the pilgrim. Naught had he held and kept, naught save his strong desire. Back on the road he might not go, but onward to the fire. From out that cone of fire, echoing from its heart, swift to his ears a voice that said, "Behold the place of God." From out the cone of fire a note fell on his ear that touched a chord within his breast and awakened quick response. Press on, O pilgrim, towards the flame. Brave the fierce ardor of the fire. Enter within the portal, which is hidden by its light. The door is there, unseen, unknown, watched by the lords of flame. Deep in the heart of yellow, closed by the outer rim, lies the key that holds the secret. The threshold of that inner door, the step unseen, must be reached, will meet the feet within the fringe of flame. Put forth the hand and touch the door. Knock thrice with pure intent. A voice will answer to that call. The words will sound. Who is it seeks the way? Well, there's going to be, some issues about interpretation here, but out of the fire into the cold and towards a newer tension. And there is also this interesting statement which has to do with triple the call must be and long it takes to sound it forth. Let the disciple sound the call across the desert, there we go, over all the seas and through the fires which separate him from the veiled and hidden door. So here we have triple the call must be and long it takes to sound it forth. The third rule for applicants, let the disciples sound the call across the desert. Here's our desert, over all the seas and through the fires which separate him from the veiled and hidden door. And we have also here the idea of the desert. Let's see. When the demand and the response are lost in one great sound, move outward from the desert, leave the seas behind, and know that God is fire. So we have the issue of whether the fire is before or behind. What is the position of the fire? There is a burning ground to pass before we can reach the lush country where life can be found and not aridity. I think the disciple has to pass through that period of aridity, an immense cone of fire. So let's just say, in a way, overwhelming to the disciple, is seen in the midst of an arid desert, which apparently the fire has produced. A man stands in front of the scene in an attitude of indecision, let us say, knowing not what to do. The cone stands between the man and a fruitful country. So we are thinking of the aridity of the desert, which is not fruitful, and the land of fruitfulness beyond the cone. Excuse me. Rises the cone from out the arid waste. Naught is felt but its heat. Naught but its heat is felt. Naught but its glare is seen. You know, I think fire by friction, FBF. Okay, if that has not been inserted, it should be FBF. And this should be fire by friction. And SF should be solar fire. I wonder if we have that. SF, that should be solar fire. And maybe I never was able to insert these. I had trouble. EF, electric fire. That's there. Okay. Rises the cone from out the arid waste, where only fire by friction can be found. There is aridity. Naught but its heat is felt, naught but its glare is seen. It's so very uncomfortable. Its flames have swept the country and left the desert bare. Well, was the desert there already, or did the flames create the desert? Did these flames contribute to increased desertification, or did the flames create the desert? Did they create the desert? It radiates forth a fire that devours all before it. So no beautiful forms on this side of the cone can withstand it. All green things die, and the dwellers on the sphere, recede before its flame, scorching and burning, cruel and superb. And one wonders here about what remains after the burning ground experience. So many detachment is caused by the flame. Nothing left in our disciplic life to hold on to in this world of form, the physical forms especially. White is its inner heart. It connects with the spirit. Red, the surrounding flame. So this is the spirit connection. Red, the surrounding flame, and yellow, the spreading fire. So red again, the astral nature. Well, this is Mars. And the fire spreads, Mercury spreads the fire. Mercury, the wind, spreads the fire. Like a mantle of fierce heat, it shuts out the vision and obscures the beyond, where we find the fruitful land. Like a pall of rosy red tinged with an orange, deep, or tinged with a deep orange, an orange deep, it veils all the distance. The rosy red, the desire nature, the orange mentality, excuse me, the rosy red, I know there's no E there, the rosy red is the desire nature, the orange and the yellow are the mind, mental nature, and if you, I guess, if you in pigment add yellow to red, you get orange. All of these colors mean something. The concrete mind is orange. And the Buddhic mind, yellow, although mind in general is yellow. The concrete mind is orange. So the lower man burning, the activity of the lower vehicles obscures all that may be found in the distance in the, quote, fruitful land. Now this is what we have to deal with, our personality activities burning with fire by friction obscure the fruitful land of the soul, which can then enter the form and produce forms which respond to the plan. From out the country full and green, across the arid waste, had traveled far the pilgrim. Well, which way is he coming from? From the green that lies ahead, or from the green from which he came? Naught had he held and kept, naught save his strong desire, which burns. Let's go back here and take a look. The cone stands between the man and a fruitful country. So in this case, the fruitful country is ahead. But later it seems the man came from a fruitful country. Well, we can only assume that if there's one behind and one ahead, the one ahead is still more spiritually fruitful. Okay, where are we here? He may not go back. From out the country, full and green, across the arid waste, had traveled far the pilgrim. He did not come from that which looms ahead, but from that which is behind him. Fruitfulness of a kind. It's a bit like the garden stands revealed, and later another garden. These are symbols. We're told there is even a garden symbolically between the 6th and 7th initiations. So there's a special initiatory language which uses some of the terms that we use for normal purposes. Excuse me. Well, anyway, he had relinquished much, only his strong desire, and naught had he held and kept, we might say, dropping it all, or relinquishing it all on the burning ground. Naught save his strong desire, he has to have that, and back on the road which led him to confront the fiery cone, he may not go, but onward to the fire he must pass it and find the fruitful land on the other side of the cone. Okay. From out that cone of fire, echoing from its heart, swift to his ears a voice says, "Behold the place of God. Our God is a consuming fire, and all in him which would prevent him from entering the fruitful land ahead is burned away." From out the cone of fire, a note fell on his ear that touched a chord within his breast and awakened a quick response. This cone of fire, this cone of fire is equipped with the different aspects of divinity. This seems to be the second aspect of divinity. Press on, O pilgrim, towards the flame. And of course, this is the burning grounds we must all pass through. BGS, and that would be BGS, and that would be burning grounds. Okay. The burning grounds we must all pass through. We cannot find the fruitful country of the soul, the fruitful land of the soul, unless the dross is burnt away from us. The fruitful land of the soul cannot be entered unless the dross in us is burnt away and our vibration equivalent to that of the world, of the soul. Brave the fierce ardor of the fire. Enter within the portal which is hidden by the light. So we have here the burning ground and the door of initiation, DOI, Excuse me. Okay, let's see what we have here. DOI. You know what I'm doing by this time. Door of initiation. All right. So let the fire rage, the flames devour. Let all the dross be burnt. And let me enter through that gate and tread the way of fire. The Mantram of Fire is opposite here. I seek the way I yearn to know. Visions I see in fleeting deep impressions. Behind the portal, on the other side, lies that which I call home. For the circle has been well nigh trod, and the end approacheth the beginning. I seek the way all ways my feet have trod. The way of fire now calls to me with fierce appeal. Naught in me seeks the way of peace, naught in me yearns for earth. And here we are. Let the fire rage, the flames devour. Let all the dross be burnt, and let me enter through that gate and tread the way of fire. The fiery path, the Master Moria tells us that the nun in the fiery process is saying, I burn, I burn. She's moaning, I burn. That's an interior fire, and we all have to pass through that. Let the disciples sound the call across the desert, over all the seas and through the fires which separate him from the veiled and hidden door. We're speaking now of the door of initiation and the process we must all go through. We're moving from the unconscious Garden of Eden into the fully conscious, fruitful land beyond the fire. Okay, the door is there, unseen, unknown. The fires which veil, I think we just read that, didn't we? Through the fires which separate him from the veiled and hidden door. So we can imagine the fires are somehow veiling the door until we deal with the fires of lower mind. The door is there, unseen, unknown, watched by the lords of flame. The lords of flame, and these are going to be of two kinds, right? Okay, so let's see what. They will be solar angels and also Kumaras, if the initiation is high enough. Because Sanat Kumara and high entities start officiating at the third initiation. There is a burning ground before the third initiation, certainly before the second and first. You kind of wonder how high this burning ground experience may go. Deep in the heart of yellow, closed by the outer rim, lies the key that holds hid the secret. Now, in this case, is yellow, Buddhic Mercury, because the whole initiation process is dependent upon the Buddhic influence. That is what brings initiatory power into the causal body. It's the Christ consciousness. The threshold of that inner door, the step unseen that must be reached, will meet the feet within the fringe of flame if one really passes successfully through the burning ground. Put forth the hand and touch the door. Knock thrice with pure intent, because I think we know what this means. Triple the call must be, and long it takes to sound it forth. Triple the call must be, and long it takes to sound it forth. Knock thrice with pure intent, with 3 purified vehicles. Knock. A voice will answer to that call. There is always a voice of confirmation. The words will sound. Who is it? Seeks the way, and it has to be to a degree the soul infused personality. There has to be a particular identity of the one who hopes to pass. It cannot be just the personality who hopes to pass. If one says, I am the personality only, one may not pass. So some soul culture has been developing on this path. Anyway, this is the aridity in terms of desire. Aridity in terms of ordinary desire, through which and beyond which one must pass, endure the flame, and through initiation enter the fruitful land. Okay, so let's read this. Let's read this. Okay, it's maybe a little long. The hidden portal of initiation, shall we not say, right? An immense cone of fire, a purifying fire. An immense cone of fire is seen in the midst of an arid desert. Which the candidate's life has become through his detachment from the ordinary. An immense cone of fire is seen in the midst of an arid desert. A man stands in front of the scene in an attitude of indecision. I suppose pulled back and pulled forward. The cone stands between the man and a fruitful country. Rises the cone from out the arid waste. Naught but its heat is felt. Naught but its glare is seen. And not solar fire. Its flames have swept the country and left the desert bare. It radiates forth a fire that devours all before it. All green things die, and the dwellers on the sphere recede before its flame, scorching and burning, cruel and superb. White is its inner heat, red the surrounding flame, and yellow the spreading fire. Like a mantle of fierce heat, it shuts out the vision and obscures the beyond. Like a pall of rosy red tinged with an orange. Reminds us of the Ajna Center, doesn't it? Rosy red and orange. Or is it rosy red and purple? Anyway, something about the Ajna Center. Like a pall of rosy red tinged with an orange, Deep it veils, or tinged with an orange. Deep. It's difficult to know. It veils all the distance. From out the country full and green, across the arid waste, had travelled far the pilgrim. Naught had he held and kept, naught save his strong desire. Back on the road he might not go, but onward to the fire. From out that cone of fire, echoing from its heart, swift to his ears, a voice that said, "Behold the place of God." From out the cone of fire, a note fell on his ear that touched a chord within his breast and awakened quick response. Press on, O pilgrim, towards the flame. Brave the fierce ardor of the fire. Enter within the portal which is hidden by its light. The door is there, unseen, unknown, watched by the lords of flame. Deep in the heart of yellow, close by the outer rim, lies the key which holds the secret. The threshold of that inner door, the step unseen, always up. That must be reached, will meet the feet within the fringe of flame. Put forth the hand and touch the door, knock thrice with pure intent. A voice will answer to that call, the words will sound, "Who is it seeks the way?" Well, in very dramatic terms, we see the energies of initiation involved. Now, these are becoming very obscure, but all we can do is offer some thought on it, and perhaps if we meditate and it is appropriate to our stage of evolution, then light will come. The key. Key the first lies hid under the threshold, guarded by the watcher. He who breaks in must stoop and seize after a search of strenuous decision. The hand that grasps the key must have the nail mark through the center there located. When this is so, door the first will open. Key the second lies across the threshold, over the heap of thorns. From the centers in the feet must pour the blood that dissolves all hindrances. In the blood-stained feet and the nail-marked hands lies hid the secret. Seek you them. Then door the second will open to your touch. Key the third lies halfway up, just as the level of the heart, just at the level of the heart, that key is seen. Before it can be seized and used, the spear must pierce and thus the blood pour forth, cleansing and making whole. Only thus purified, only those thus purified can grasp the key and pass through door the third. Now you kind of wonder, are these solar initiations? It doesn't seem that they begin with initiations of the threshold because of the nail-marked hands, which are not typical of the threshold initiation. The threshold of the door, and of course we could have initiations of the threshold here, but the second initiation is also an initiation of the threshold, and it is across. This key is across the threshold. Anyway, it emphasizes here the kinds of suffering we must pass through and relinquishment for initiation. Key the first lies hid under the threshold of the door, guarded by the watcher, I suppose, the tiler of the lodge, or even a function of our solar angel, considered in its guise as the angel. Let's see if I can do this. No, but I'd like to. Nothing. All right, let's try that. We're going to do it this way. Angel with the flaming sword. Okay. Angel with the flaming sword. He who breaks in, interesting word, must stoop. And this indicates humility, and sees after a search of strenuous decision. So we're told that for the third degree, if this is indicating the first solar initiation, that a great battle occurs, a fearful conflict. The hand that grasps the key must have the nail mark through the center there located. When this is so, door the first will open. I mean, you wonder, have we gone so far as the fourth initiation in this? I don't know. Key the second lies across the threshold, and over the heap of thorns. So, we're talking about the hands and the feet and the centers as they develop in the initiation process. The centers in the hands, centers in the feet. The heap of thorns threaten the feet. And we're told of the thorny path of occultism. From the centers in the feet must pour the blood that dissolves all hindrances, understanding and compassion in relation to Pisces comes. In the blood-stained feet and the nail-marked hands lies the secret of willingness to relinquish and not search out, not go, not grasp selfishly, and not move to acquire what selfish desire wants. Seek you them. Then door the second will open to your touch. All of this, all of this is a little extreme for initiations of the threshold per se. Key the third lies halfway up. Well, what is halfway? There are 9 initiations, and the 5th initiation is halfway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 4, 1, 4. Just at the level of the heart, that key is seen. Of course, the heart is the center, which is activated in a new way, in a stronger way, at the fourth initiation. However, Leo, the heart, the fifth initiation, all go together. But these are fourth initiation images, really. Before it can be seized and used, the spear, which pierced the heart of the initiate Jesus, must pierce, and thus the blood pour forth, cleansing and making whole. So there are some fourth initiation suggestions here. Only those thus purified can grasp the key and pass through door the third. Well, it's a little obscure. We obviously are ascending via initiations here. And there are three indicators, three keys, but possibly 4 or 5 initiations. So, maybe on the ordinary path, the use of the hand in service, the nail-marked hands can possibly be associated with the first degree in a lesser manner than crucifixion. The humility is needed. Then is it possible that this heap of thorns involving Pisces and the feet take us to the second initiation and then the third? No. This is more drastic than the third degree because the spear is involved. So are we dealing in a way with initiations 1 and 2? And then how is it that the fourth initiation could be considered halfway up? So I think, I'll just have to ponder this, and you will too. Certainly the fifth initiation is halfway up. The fourth initiation certainly can involve, it's a second in a way. The 4 is the second when considering solar initiations, not just planetary initiations. The fourth initiation is the second when considering solar initiations, and we're not even considered to be initiate unless we take the third degree. So are we really beginning with the third degree here? In other words, indicating humility, and at this humility, at this initiation of mind, no mental pride is allowed. Can it be that? So that would be the second one from that perspective. And where am I? Oh my goodness, I've jumped quite a bit. Okay, now here we are. Now, it's interesting that the key falls down in the fifth law of repulse, and written in blue these words. Okay, writ in blue, here it is. Okay, and we will see. Through the opening on the summit of the pyramid, this is the law of repulse for the fifth ray, which rules initiation, certainly from the time of the third initiation, because it starts that series of initiations. Through the opening on the summit of the pyramid, dropped from the blue of heaven, a key came down. It landed at the feet of the discouraged worker. The key was of pure gold, the shaft of light, and upon the key a label in written blue these words, destroy that which thou hast built, Always there is a destruction before liberation. And build anew, but only build when thou hast climbed the upward way, traversed the gallery of tribulation, and entered into light within the chamber of the king. Well, that's building as a master, really. Build from the heights and thus shew forth the value of the depths. So this is another one of those areas where the key is very important. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to solve this particularly. I mean, it certainly is possible that we begin with the third or first solar initiation, and we must demonstrate no mental pride, but rather humility, and seize after a search of strenuous decision. The mind is involved. The hand that grasps the key must have the nail mark through the center there located. Well, now, the nail mark is difficult because we're used to thinking of that in relation to the fourth initiation, but perhaps the entire initiation process is involving a degree of suffering and the inability to grasp for oneself. The nail mark indicates the inability to grasp for oneself. Okay. When this is so, door the first will open, and we might say into real initiation, because before the third initiation, the two previous initiations are not considered true initiations in the eyes of hierarchy. Okay, so maybe the nail mark doesn't have to take us as far as the third degree. Key the second lies across the threshold over a heap of thorns, and the blood must pour forth. Pisces has a lot to do with the relinquishment of the fourth degree. In the blood-stained feet and the nail-marked hands lies hid the secret. Seek you them, and from the solar point of view, the second door is the fourth initiation. Key the third lies halfway up. Well, that's a hint. The fifth lies halfway up the 9. If 9 is what we're dealing with. But if 7 initiations are what we're dealing with, then we're dealing with a fourth, and that's halfway up. That's halfway. But, okay, let's see. But if we are dealing with 7 initiations, usually taken in relation to our planet, then 4, then initiation 4 is halfway up, and the heart is utilized. And then the one before it would be initiation 3, and the one before that may be initiation 2. So, there are some ambiguities here, which I can offer some thoughts about how to think about it, but I'm not willing to draw a final conclusion. Just at the level of the heart, that key is seen. So if 7 initiations are being considered, 4 is halfway up, and before it can be seized and used, the spear, as in the crucifixion, must pierce, and thus the blood pour forth, cleansing and making whole. Only those thus purified can grasp the key and pass through door the third. So there are different ways of looking at this, either as solar initiations 3, 4, 5, or as a series of 7, in which 4 and the opening of the heart in crucifixion is the way to consider these stanzas. Or even, possibly we can go back to the very threshold. But if we begin with initiation 1, we're in trouble because we have to pass the last one here, the third. The third key is going to be either the crucifixion or the mastership. Anyway, these are some hints which I would follow out if I were having to think about it. There are many, a number of possibilities. So, if there are 9 initiations, 5 is halfway up. If there are 7 initiations, 4 is halfway up. The heart is involved. The spear is involved. You can make a pretty good case here for key the third relating to the 4th initiation. And if that is so, well, but here the blood-stained feet and the nail-marked hands, this sounds very much as well to indicate a suffering initiation, not so much the third, which is not an initiation of suffering, although a great fight with fear occurs. So although I'm rather tenacious and I'd like not to leave it, I'll let you draw your own conclusions. Because when we think about initiations of the threshold, is it possible that one key can be applied to 2 initiations of the threshold, but at the same time, the stooping down, entering stoop low, indicates the humility that is necessary to enter the lodge, so to speak. And the nail-marked hands are appearing just a bit earlier than the 4th. So I leave this having proposed a number of things and not easy to resolve it. Now the next one, let me read the whole thing. Key the first lies hid under the threshold, guarded by the watcher. He who breaks in must stoop and seize after a search of strenuous decision. The hand that grasps the key must have the nail mark through the center there located. When this is so, door the first will open. Is the door to real initiation. Key the second lies across the threshold. Is the threshold the dotted line? Is it that which separates the mental plane from the Buddhic plane? Key the second lies across the threshold, over the heap of thorns. From the centers in the feet must pour the blood that dissolves all hindrances, and certainly with renunciation, connected to the great renunciation, Pisces is involved. In the blood-stained feet and the nail-marked hands lies hid the secret. Seek you them, then door the second will open to your touch. Key the third lies halfway up, just at the level of the heart that key is seen. So the key is an activation of some kind of energy, really. Before it can be seized and used, the spear must pierce, and thus the blood pour forth, cleansing and making whole. Only thus purified, those thus purified, can grasp the key and pass through door the third. Well, too many possibilities to conclude. Here we have what Master D.K. might call the wordy disquisitions of the concrete mind. Too many words, too many possibilities, too much third ray. You arrive at your own conclusion, and I will sleep on it. Here's an occult method or message. The key is found, and with the pressure of the hands in service of the light, and with a beating heart of love, that key is turned. The door swings wide open. With hasty feet, the one who hastens towards the light enters that door, then waits. He holds the door ajar for those who follow after, and thus, in action, waits. A voice sounds forth. My brother, let's make this a little bit. A voice sounds forth. My brother, close that door. For each must turn the key with his own hand, and each must enter through the door alone. The blazing light within the temple of the Lord is not for all at the same moment or the same hour of each day. Each knows his hour. Your hour is now. So, brother, close that door. Remember, those behind know not the door has opened or the door has closed. They see it not. Rest on that thought, my brother, and passing through the door, close it with care. I does not slam it, and enter upon another stage upon the upward way, alone yet not alone. So the key to open the door of initiation is found. However many keys there may be, okay, let's make sure that this is correct. Okay. However many specific keys there may be, a key to the door of initiation is found. And with the pressure, what opens it? The pressure of the hands in service of the light and with the beating heart of love. So, acting in service and loving, acting in loving service, acting in loving service, the key is turned, and that's the only way. Serve and love. As you serve love, let service be the outgrowth of your love. The door swings wide open, the door which admits to the possibility of initiation. With hasty feet, the one who hastens towards the light enters that door. I assume it's not an S, then waits. He holds the door ajar for those who follow after, and thus, in action, waits. So he passes through the door which has opened under the pressure of loving service. And he tries to serve. He tries to serve by holding the door ajar for others. But a voice sounds forth, the voice of his soul, the voice of the coming initiator. My brother, close that door. For each must turn the key with his own hand, and each must enter through the door alone. This is a task which each must accomplish on his own. The blazing light of initiation, we might say, within the temple of the Lord, we might say within the causal body, is not for all at the same moment or the same hour of each day. Each knows his hour. Each, as a soul, knows his hour. Your hour is now. So, it is no real service to hold the door ajar and take from others the experience of opening the door oneself. So, brother, close that door. So then this ends a kind of sentimental approach to initiation. We have to allow people to develop their own strength in service. Remember, those behind know not the door has opened or the door has closed, because, initiation is such a deeply subjective event. They see it not, and so you're not hurting them, and there will be no reaction. There will be no unpleasant reaction from them. Rest on that thought, my brother, and passing through the door, close it with care. I guess it means close it quietly, without proclaiming that one has been initiated, and enter upon another stage, upon the upward way, alone, yet not alone. Alone apparently, yet accompanied by those who have, apparently alone, crossed over. Alone, yet not alone. So let's read the whole thing for the sense of it. An occult message. The key is found, and with the pressure of the hands in service of the light, and with a beating heart of love, that key is turned. The door swings wide open. With hasty feet, the one who hastens towards the light enters that door, then waits. He holds the door ajar for those who follow after, and thus, in action, waits. A voice sounds forth, "My brother, close that door, for each must turn the key with his own hand, and each must enter through the door alone." The blazing light within the temple of the Lord is not for all at the same moment or the same hour of each day. Each knows his hour. Your hour is now. So, brother, close that door. Remember, those behind know not the door has opened or the door has closed. They see it not. Rest on that thought, my brother. You're not hurting anybody here. And pass through the door, and passing through the door, close it with care, and enter upon another stage, upon the upward way, alone, yet not alone. Well, all of these, are not completely understood. I'm not claiming to understand them completely, but they are understood somewhat, and they give an indication for the future. The crucifixion. In the mystic heart, with its two lobes, lies the key to the reservoir. In the outgoing and the return, the cross is made. Midway it stands, with the right hand and the left hand path on either side. There the man is crucified, and the two on either hand, one on the right and one on the left. In the apprehension of the key, in the opening and shutting of doors, lies life eternal. Know you and understand. It's rather obscure. It's not a four-chambered heart, unless the two lobes are dual, but not a four-chambered heart. We're talking about decision here. The key to the reservoir of eternal life, of great spiritual energy. In the outgoing and the return, the cross is made. So having to descend into matter and rising again out of matter, descending, let's see, into matter and rising out of matter creates the tension of the cross. This cross, midway it stands, with the right hand and the left hand path on either side, and of course we have to choose, in a way, the right hand path. Or we could be taking the very central column. You know, the right hand of the cross might represent Pingala, and the left hand, Ida, and the central column, Shushumna. This is another way of looking at it. There the man is crucified with the two on either hand, one on the right and one on the left. Well, you know, the thieves of two kinds. One that does not repent on the left, and one that repents and moves towards regeneration. Crucifixion is a kind of a general and universal process, and the fact that there were two thieves, one on either hand, is the emphasis of the general process. In the apprehension of the key, which will allow one to pass into greater life, allowing one to pass into the cosmic ethers, in the opening and shutting of doors, we might say through initiation, through the coming and going in a Maya Virupa, lies life eternal. Know you. This we must know and we must understand. So the key to progress is here, and we must solve the problem at the fourth initiation of the dualities. It's sometimes called the problem of sex, but it is the problem of duality. The crucifixion in the mystic heart, with its two lobes on the left and right, on the left, lies the key to the reservoir of great energy, the reservoir of life. In the outgoing and the return, the cross is made, and this is also the reincarnational process. Midway it stands, this cross, with the right hand and the left hand path on either side. We have to honor form, we have to honor soul, we have to honor spirit. There are opposites on either side. In one respect, we're not allowed to take the left-hand path and must take the right-hand path. From another point of view, we have to ascend, as in the spine, via the center. Midway it stands with the right hand and the left-hand path on either side. There the man is crucified, with the two on either hand, one on the right and one on the left. He stands midway between. In the apprehension of the key, which overcomes the pairs of opposites, and shutting of door, in the opening and shutting of doors, opening of doors to life and good and shutting of doors to evil and limitation, lies life eternal. And this is found in the reservoir. Know you and understand. So, since I interjected some thoughts, midway it stands with the right hand and the left hand on either side. There the man is crucified with the two on either hand, one on the right and one on the left. In the apprehension of the key, that's the understanding and the taking of the key, in the opening and shutting of doors lies life eternal. Know you and understand. Okay, well, we're doing a little bit of understanding. These things, all we can do, I suppose, if we were to get together, would be to talk about what these words suggest to us. And what is the likely solution of these obscure, meaningful, symbolic words? The cross. In the cross is hidden light. The vertical and horizontal in mutual friction create. A vibrant cross scintillates and motion originates. When the vertical assumes the horizontal, pralaya supervenes. Evolution is the movement of the horizontal to upright positiveness. As if all of this is from the Secret Doctrine. In the secret of direction lies the hidden wisdom. In the doctrine of absorption lies the healing faculty. In the point, becoming the line and the line becoming the cross is evolution. In the cross swinging to the horizontal lies salvation and pralaic peace. This is really the whole Secret Doctrine described in a few words. The opening of the Secret Doctrine. Described in a few words. In the cross lies hidden light. So we might say through renunciation comes revelation. The vertical and the horizontal in mutual friction create the state of matter on the horizontal and the upward striving to elevate that matter. That's one way of looking at it. Or the absolute equality of the horizontal and the hierarchical nature of the vertical. The vertical is hierarchical and the horizontal represents equality. But there is friction between oneness and manyness, between the passive state and the active thrusting upward state which elevates conditions as they are found. So I think we're all, we have to learn to deal on the level with the environment that we find. That's the horizontal arm, and we have to push that environment forward and upward into higher states of vibration, and this is creativity. So creativity is an aspect of evolution. So the vibrant cross is scintillating because of the mutual friction. A vibrant cross scintillates and motion originates, all to motion to move towards the fulfillment of the divine plan. When the vertical assumes the horizontal, how does that, how would that work? Sort of coming down. Pralaya supervenes. All things are equal. And there is no more upward striving at the pralaya, because that which is intended in the universe has been accomplished. Evolution is the movement of the horizontal to an upright positiveness, and then we have motion and the fulfillment of the plan which has been sent forth through the ray of the Absolute. In the secret of direction lies the hidden wisdom. Direction has to do with will, and how the divine purpose will be fulfilled in objectivity. In the doctrine of absorption lies the healing faculty. It's an ingathering associated with the second ray. And ingathering associated with the second ray. And, of course, many healers do absorb and transmute the condition of the one to be healed. Also, healers absorb and transmute the condition to be healed. In the point becoming the line, here we have the generation of geometry. In the point becoming the line, we don't know how many lines there are on a point, I suppose infinite. We don't even know if the point has any, what should we call it, mass or any extension whatsoever. But for practical purposes, we assume that it does. In the point becoming the line and the line becoming the cross is evolution. So from that point, which begins as the universal logos, comes the whole emanative process, the whole fulfilling of purpose, the whole working out of the divine pattern which is brought with, conferred upon the universal logos, or which the absolute deity acting as the universal logos carries with itself as it emerges into objectivity, into existence. In the cross swinging to the horizontal, equalizing all things, lies salvation and pralaic peace, and eventually sameness, oneness arises. Maybe that's not a good word. Eventuates. All right, so this is all about the secret doctrine to the cross, which really, describes the process through which we pass universe after universe. In the cross is hidden light. Light is the very substance of the universe. The universe is light. In the cross is hidden light. The vertical and horizontal in mutual friction create, and we have to identify these in our lives. Even, we lie down at night, we rise up during the day. There is that ritualistic duality of sleeping and rising. In the cross is hidden light. The vertical and horizontal in mutual friction create. A vibrant cross scintillates and motion originates. When the vertical assumes the horizontal, at the end of all, in any universe, when the vertical assumes the horizontal, pralaya supervenes. Evolution is the movement of the horizontal to upright positiveness. And I just have to, I'm sorry, I do it, this is awakening of a universe And this is the sleep of a universe and its disappearance into absolute infinity or the absolute. Evolution is the movement of the horizontal to upright positiveness. In the secret of direction lies the hidden wisdom, with which to fulfill the purpose. In the doctrine of absorption lies the healing faculty. And if I may say, absorption is archetypalization. In the doctrine of absorption lies the healing faculty, because we absorb into the archetype which is intended, and thereby bring harmony and reduction of friction, which causes dis-ease. In the point becoming the line and the line becoming the cross is evolution. In the cross swinging to the horizontal lies salvation and prolaic peace. And I suppose the Pisces process is involved here. The cross swinging to the horizontal. And there we have inactivity and no longer the rearrangements of the various aspects of any universe relative to each other. All right. Now, I'm quite tired and quite determined to complete this. The chalice. The lower chalice rises like a flower of color dark or somber. Dull it appears to the outer vision, but within a light will sometimes shine and shatter the illusion. Chalice the second rises from out the lower sheath, as does the flower from out the calyx green. Of color rose it is, and many shades thereof, and to the onlooker it seems as if the color might transcend the inner shining light. But this is but illusion which time itself dispels. Chalice the third surmounts all and opens wide in time its outspread petals. Blue does it appear and blends with the rose, forming at first a deep, impenetrable shade which shuts out the light. Within the three, deep hidden in the heart, tiny at first yet ever waxing greater, shines the light divine. This light, through radiating heat and innate divine vibration, constructs for itself a sheath of iridescence. It emerges from the threefold chalice as a floating bubble, lights on a flower. Within this iridescent sheath burns the inner flame, and in its turn it burns out the lower gross material. E'en as the path is neared clearer, the light shines out. Forth through the chalice gross and dark that forms the foundation shines the light supernal, till all who see the radiation cry out within themselves, "Behold, a God is here." Forth from the chalice rosy red shines the inner glow, till soon the red of earth desire becomes the glow of heaven's fire, and all is lost, save aspiration that shades not the cup with karmic color. Forth from the chalice blue shines and glows the inner light divine, till all the forms are burnt and gone, and naught is left save one divine abstraction. Naught but the shells remain below, naught but the forms for use, and at the culmination what strange event is seen. Tarry, O pilgrim, at the strange appearance, with bowed head watch the progress of the fire. Slowly the chalice threefold merges into an altar, and from that triple altar mounts the fire unto its source. As mounts and spreads the inner flame, the beauty of the central sphere lit with radiance white, causes the worlds to stand and cry, behold, a god is here. Ever the flame mounts higher, ever the warmth streams forth, till, in the moment of the hour set, the flame destroys all, and all is gone, the work of ages past, in a moment into nothingness. But forth from the fourfold fire, up from the altar of the ages, springs the liberated one, the flame. Back to the fire of cosmos springs the dual flame. Into the three is absorbed the essence, and becomes one with its source. The spark becomes the flame becomes the fire. The fire forms part of the great cosmic blaze, which holds all the secret of the five hidden within the heart. What a superb mantram. It's about, the vehicles and the destruction of the causal body. The lower chalice is the physical etheric vehicle. And it appears quite opaque at first, dull it appears to the outer vision, but one day it will become translucent. One day the light will shine through the lower form. So these chalices are really vehicles in the constitution of man. Chalice the second rises from out the lower sheath, as does the flower from out the calyx green, and the hint comes with of color rose it is. So this is the astral vehicle, and many shades thereof, depending on the purity of the astral vehicle. And to the onlooker it seems, such is the emotional strength in our planet and in our solar system, and to the onlooker it seems as if the color might transcend the inner shining of the light, and for a while it does. But this is but illusion, which time itself dispels, and emotion subsides. And ever, from red to pink to light pink to, what is the final color when the Buddhic vehicle shines through the astral vehicle? Sometimes the blue has been associated with the astral vehicle, the blue of the second ray, and not the red and the pink and all of that, which is preliminary, or which are preliminary. But the real blue we see here, chalice the third surmounts all. It's the mental vehicle, maybe in both, at least in the initial concrete phase, and opens wide in time its outspread petals. Now remember that the throat center is blue and silver. So blue is appropriately associated with the mind. Blue does it appear, and blue and orange, I suppose they're complementary colors. And he sometimes tells us that things are spoken of in terms of their complement, blue and orange. Let's see, outspread petals. Okay, I better go back and see what I've got. Right. So, are we dealing with complementary colors, blue and orange of the mental vehicle are complementary, just the way the violet and the yellow are complementary. Blue does it appear, and blends with the rose. Sometimes we hear of the orange and the rose, but here the blue and the rose. Interesting that Master Kuhumi works with devas which are of the blue and rose, but we are dealing with the mental vehicle, forming at first the deep impenetrable shade, which shuts out the light, for the concrete mind does obscure the light at first. Anyway, we're talking blue, but usually the color orange is associated with the lower mental plane, but perhaps we are speaking in complements, and certainly the throat center has its blue component and is related to the lower mind, and I suppose to the higher mind as well. Within the three, so this is the blue, the rose, and the dull outer. Is it green? The third ray, the outer form. Within the three, deep hidden in the heart, tiny at first, yet ever waxing greater, shines the light divine, the light of the soul. This light, though radiating heat and innate divine vibration, constructs for itself a sheath of iridescence. This would be the causal body. It emerges from the threefold chalice as a floating bubble alights on a flower, a way of describing the egoic lotus. Within this iridescent sheath, and that gives us the hint, because the egoic lotus or causal body is an iridescent sheath. But I have to within the iridescent, DESCENT, and only one R. Within the iridescent sheath burns the inner flame, which would be the jewel in the lotus, or the combination of the bud, the inner bud, and the jewel. Burns the inner flame, which is a reflection of the monad, and in its turn it burns out the lower gross material. So the inner flame of spirit found in the causal body does work upon the sheaths, or the, what have they been called here? Chalices. Works upon the chalices. Even, or e'en as the path is neared, clearer the light shines out. So, as we approach the center, there has been a clarification and an irradiation. Forth through the chalice growths and dark, the outer one, that forms the foundation, shines the light supernal of the soul and still higher. It's as if the light supernal is the sun and Venus on the mountaintop, found at the third degree but still higher, till all who see the radiation cry out within themselves, behold, a God is here. The halo is seen, and the outer matter turns translucent. So no longer opaque, no longer dark, but somehow the outer and lower now transmits the inner light. Lo, behold, a God is here. And this is what we say of initiates when we see their physical condition radiating. When we see the physical condition of initiates radiating, we say, behold, behold. God is here. Light, light radiating is evidence for us of the presence of a God. And now to the second chalice, the astral body, forth from the chalice, rosy red, not just red as in the savage state, but rosy red, not just red as in the savage state, pure Mars, shines the inner glow, which is no longer suppressed by emotion or cloaked by emotion, till soon the red of earth desire becomes the glow of heaven's fire. That is a beautiful little rhyming sentence. And all is lost save aspiration that shades not the cup with karmic color. Color is an indication of karma yet to be expiated. So aspiration does not add color to the astral vehicle, or maybe to any vehicle. Anyway, the color of the of the astral vehicle no longer seems to hide the inner light, is no longer stronger than the inner light. Excuse me. Will I make it through this, huh? Right. Well, there is something about finishing just before the solstice, and right now Saturn is in process of moving into Capricorn right now. Forth from the chalice blue shines and glows the inner light divine, till all the forms, what can we say, the many thought forms are burnt and gone. We might say the clutter in the lower mind is burnt and gone, and naught is left. Excuse me, save one divine abstraction. Is this abstract mind, the higher mind, or a condition of the lower mind which is seamless with the higher mind and abstract mind? A unified mental body, perhaps. Naught but the shells remain below, the shells of thought forms and the shells of desire forms, and the shells which are the vehicles, but contentless in a way, naught but forms for use by the higher and emerging soul. And at the culmination, what strange event is seen? And what is the culmination? Is this the destruction of the causal body, the culmination? Because, you know, when we consider 7 initiations, in a way, 4 represents a culmination, a midway point. If we consider 9, it's 5. We ran into trouble with that just a little earlier when we're trying to figure out, you know, what is that key that is found at the halfway point. So tarry or wait, O pilgrim, at the strange appearance, with bowed head, and maybe there's a hint there, but this indicates humility, but perhaps some occult hint which is more practical. Watch the progress of the fire through the chakric system, and through the vehicles. Slowly the chalice threefold. That is the personality, really. The chalice of the three personality vehicles. Okay, and here we have, no, that's not right. And so here is what we want. The chalice of the three personality vehicles, and I'm going to make that the appropriate color, merges into an altar, which will, I suppose, burst into flame. And from that triple altar mounts the fire unto its source, first within the egoic lotus, and then into the spiritual triad. Each of the vehicles has a content in the atomic triangle or permanent atoms, and these rise into the higher permanent atoms of the spiritual triad. As mounts and spreads the inner flame, the beauty of the central sphere, lit with a radiance white, causes the worlds to stand by and cry, "Behold, a God is here." Central sphere, I suppose, is not the monadic vehicle, but the soul vehicle, and it's going to be destroyed. And the relinquishment through flame, through the fiery burning of the causal vehicle, gives further evidence of divinity of the causal vehicle, gives further evidence of divinity. Ever the flame mounts higher, ever the warmth streams forth, till in the moment of the hour set, the time of the fourth degree is predetermined. In the moment of the hour set, the flames destroy all, and all is gone, and the work of ages passes in a moment into nothingness. This is definitely the destruction of the causal body by fire from various sources at the fourth degree. So that's what this is all about. But forth from the fourfold fire. Okay, so what is the fourfold fire? The three personality vehicles and the causal body. Up from the altar of the ages springs the liberated one, the flame, the monad, which has gone forth in extension. It is the volatile essence, which even escapes later from the temple of Ezekiel. Back to the fire of cosmos springs the dual flame. Why is it dual? The dual flame, well, sometimes we're told that the monad is Atma Buddhi, and dual in that respect. But we're talking about liberation onto the egoic plane. And into the three is absorbed the essence, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost of the logoic plane. You know, we've seen that, haven't we? Okay, where is that? do I have here? Yeah, I'll have to do it this way. And here is the diagrams, and here we have the three: the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost, and the rising flame, which is the volatile essence, even goes beyond the monadic vehicle at a certain point into the three. So the monad is back to the fire of cosmos, and this suggests the logoic plane, which is the sea of fire. We're not yet on the cosmic astral plane. Into the three is absorbed the essence and becomes one with its source. Another way of looking at this: springs the liberated one, the flame. From another perspective, the flame could rise into the spiritual triad, the three, and thence to the monad, which would be a little less ultimate. The spark becomes the flame, the spark of divinity immersed, the immersed spark of divinity becomes the flame. The flame becomes, and the flame is interior to the soul. It is that which is found as the jewel in the lotus. The flame becomes the fire, liberated into the sea of fire. This is the whole story of evolution and release from the cosmic physical plane, and forms part of the great cosmic blaze that holds the secret of the five hidden within its heart. The five are the solar angels, and from another perspective, the five are the planes of Brahma, over which the monad supervises, over which the monad presides. Okay, well, I'm trying to here enter into some understanding here of the great process by which the opaque causal body covering the inner flame participates in the liberation of that flame, and the flame turns into the fire and enters the sea of fire, and the essence of the monad is liberated and ready eventually to tread the way of higher evolution. Now, if for some reason this process is taken a little lower, then we are simply dealing with the destruction of the causal body and the liberation of the content of the causal body and its atomic triangle, two permanent atoms and a mental unit, into the spiritual triad, and thence to the monad. There's different levels at which we can interpret this, but this is very beautiful because this whole discussion is about a long-term movement from opacity to a blazing liberation. Okay, so let's read it. And excuse me, it's getting to be about 3:30 or 3:40 here, but I'm quite determined. I hope I'm making sense. The chalice. The lower chalice rises like a flower of color dark or somber. Dull it appears to the outer vision, but within a light will sometimes shine and shatter the illusion of opacity. Chalice the second arises from out the lower sheath, as does the flower from out the calyx green, the third ray. Of color rose it is, I know, I promised I would just read it, right? Of color rose it is, and many shades thereof, depending, many shades thereof, and to the onlooker it seems as if the color might transcend the inner shining light, but this is but illusion, which time itself dispels. Chalice the third surmounts all and opens wide in time its outspread petals. Blue does it appear and blends with the rose, forming at first a deep, impenetrable shade which shuts out the light. Within the three, deep hidden in the heart, tiny at first yet ever waxing greater, shines the light divine. This light, through radiating heat and innate divine vibration, constructs for itself a sheath of iridescence. It emerges from the threefold chalice, the sheath of iridescence, as a floating bubble alights on a flower. Really, if I can just pause for a second, all of this really occurs from above to below, but we seem to be following a process where that which is rooted below is producing that which is above. Probably technically not true. Within this iridescent sheath burns the inner flame, and in its turn it burns out the lower gross material. E'en as the path is neared, clearer the light shines out. Forth through the chalice gross and dark that forms the foundation shines the light supernal, till all who see the radiation cry out within themselves, Behold, a God is here. Forth from the chalice rosy red shines the inner glow, till soon the red of earth desire becomes the glow of heaven's fire, and all is lost save aspiration that shades not the cup with karmic color. Forth from the chalice blue shines and glows the inner light divine, till all the forms are burnt and gone, and naught is left save one divine abstraction, the abstracting power of the mind, perhaps. Naught but the shells remain below, naught but the forms for use. This is in general and for everything, all of the chalices. And at the culmination, what strange event is seen? Tarry, O pilgrim, at the strange appearance, with bowed head. Watch the progress of the fire. Slowly the chalice threefold merges into an altar, and from that triple altar mounts the fire unto its source. As mounts and spreads the inner flame, the beauty of the central sphere, lit with radiance white, causes the world to stand and cry, Behold, a God is here. And if I can pause, a very beautiful soul character is expressed through the completed causal body. Ever the flame mounts higher, ever the warmth streams forth, till in the moment of the hour set, the flame destroys all and all is gone. The work of ages passes in a moment into nothingness. But forth from the fourfold fire, up from the altar of the ages, springs the liberated one, the flame. Back to the fire of cosmos springs the dual flame, to the second plane perhaps, and Atma Buddhi perhaps, springs the dual flame into the three is absorbed the essence and becomes one with its source. The spark becomes the flame becomes the fire, and forms part of the great cosmic blaze that holds the secret of the five hidden within the heart. The five liberated Kumaras are also a possibility. It holds the secret of the five hidden within the heart, and the fivefold solar angels, and the fivefold egoic lotus, 4 tiers of petals, and the jewel in the lotus. There are a number of fives here, and we have here the 5th creative hierarchy. Also, and then I'm going to, it should be this. I haven't been able to recapture all that I had before. The 5th creative hierarchy, and I'm going to have to redo that because I was hasty. So here it goes. 5th creative hierarchy, replace. Yes, yes, and okay. Okay. Well, it's very beautiful, and it's a long progress until liberation. I think in some of these stanzas, liberation is being described in various ways. Now, friends, we have reached the very last writing in the book, Initiation, Human and Solar. No, Rays and Initiations, pardon me. It started with Initiation, Human, Solar, and ended with the book on initiation. And we close with a fire mantram. And for me, about 4 years of work, but really 2 years taken off, more or less. And hoping that this becomes useful to you. A point of light within the glowing arc. O pilgrim on the way, waxes and wanes as application hard or not, betrays the purpose within the heart. That point is ever there, unnoticed and unseen. Dark is the night and drear, and sore the heart of the unilluminated pilgrim. Dark is the night, but drearness is not felt, when within the gloomy portal is seen the bright elusive light, the light that flickers ever on ahead, enticing with its gleam the pilgrim ever onward. 6 times the light may wax and wane, 6 times the glow is felt, but at the 7th glowing hour the flame bursts forth. 6 times the flame bursts forth, 6 times the burning starts, but at the 7th hour the altar is lost sight of, and only the flame is seen. 6 times the circle of the burning fire, 6 times the roaring furnace burns and separates. But at the 7th naught is left save the ascending flame that mounts to the triadal spirit. 6 times the flame mounts up, 6 times the cloud recedes, but at the 7th naught is seen, save everlasting fire. 6 times the flame absorbs the water, 6 times the moisture disappears, but at the 7th great absorption, naught is left, save iridescent fire. 3 times the fire envelops, 3 times the sun recedes. At time the 4th the work is done, and naught is left, save flame primordial. That flame absorbs, revolves, receives and remains when all that has traversed the flame. When all that is has traversed the flame, then time is not. Well, goodness. This is not going to be easy, but I think it speaks very much of the seventh initiation. The pilgrim on the way is the monad treading the path of descent, okay, S-C-E-N-T, and the path of return. This is the arc, maybe the arc of outgoing and return. The point of light within the glowing arc waxes and wanes as it travels that arc, according to the application, hard or not, which will betray the purpose within the heart. With strong heart, there will be a waxing and not so much a waning, and one will be a steady point of approaching light and not a flickering flame. Right. Okay, what just happened there? Yeah, that's it. Okay, the point of light within the glowing arc. I mean, and I suppose that is the very essence of the monad in extension. And the monad in extension is the pilgrim, and the monad also stays at home on its own high plane, which is the sixth plane or the second, depending on how we look at it. These mantrams have something ultimate, climactic about them. That point is ever there, unnoticed and unseen, the very essence of our being as an existence. Dark is the night and drear on the lower planes as the pilgrimage is undertaken, and sore the heart, later, of the unilluminated pilgrim, seeing no beckoning light, but surrounded by relative darkness of dense matter. But there is an improvement. Dark is the light, but dreariness, depression, we might say. These are old words. Is not felt when within the gloomy portal is seen the bright, elusive light, the various ways apparently ahead, the bright, elusive light, the light that flickers ever on ahead, because, as it says in White Magic, because our form nature approaches and withdraws, causing the apparent flickering. So according to the strength of our heart, there will be flickering or not, our strength of purpose. If we can approach without fluctuation and holding the form nature so that it does not retreat, the light will not seem to flicker. So there is that bright elusive light, the light that flickers ever on ahead, enticing with its gleam the pilgrim ever onward. And we must say here, the pilgrim is definitely on the path of return. Whoop, principle of refusal, no. Path of return. And is self-conscious. Excuse me. 6 times the light may wax and wane. 6 times the glow is felt. This is the initiatory I-N-I-Y, the initiatory light. But at the seventh glowing hour, the flame bursts forth from the oh, I'm going to do it. Shall I do that? No, wait a second. What has happened here? No, that's not what we want. Okay. Cancel. And now we'll go here. And this is TOE. And this would be Temple of Ezekiel, which is the monadic vehicle. 6 times, let's see what happens here. All right. The initiatory light, okay. But at the 7th glowing hour, which is, an initiation, the flame bursts forth from the Temple of Ezekiel into the Sea of Fire. But my Temple of Ezekiel is flawed. So here we go again, because I had a lazy finger. Temple of Ezekiel. All right. Replace. Yes, and yes. So there comes a time when the flame or volatile essence, how about that? VLE, and we'll call it VLE this way. What a time to be adding to the glossary. Comes a time when the volatile essence is liberated from the monadic vehicle and enters the Sea of Fire. The flame or volatile essence is liberated into the Sea of Fire at the 7th initiation, and this is the state of the Christ and probably the Buddha. No longer confined by the monadic vehicle, but can use the vehicles at will. 6 times the flame bursts forth, what we say excuse me. 6 times the flame bursts forth in initiatory growth and illumination. Sorry. 6 times the burning starts. But at the 7th hour, and notice how the word hour is used to describe a great event which may be separated from the previous hour by thousands of years. But at the 7th hour, the altar is lost sight of, and only the flame is seen. You know, like the stages, you might say, of a rocket. There is a dropping away, and that which has been burned and which provided a means of ascent is no longer cognized or considered, and eventually does not exist. So certainly the lower altar, which is the personality, is not considered at the what's called 7th hour. It is long gone. 6 times the circle of the burning fire, That is another way of describing the process of initiation undergone. 6 times the roaring furnace burns and separates. Apparently, even on the higher cosmic ethers. Apparently. But at the 7th, naught is left, save the ascending flame, the volatile essence that mounts to the triadal spirit. Now must we consider this the spiritual triad, which we have in this process apparently transcended, or do we consider the 3 cosmic logoi within the sea of fire, beings who surround the solar logos eventually, or do. I've shown you that picture, haven't I? And these beings surround the solar logos, and they are found on the 3 of them, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, on the highest level of the cosmic physical plane in one of their expressions. Also, Kumaras are there found, but I don't think we're talking about the Buddhas of activity particularly. I think we're talking about a higher 3 who are found there, and I'll go back to another chart. There they are, these 3. So is this the higher triad of which we are speaking? This higher triad can be found in the sea of fire and not on the cosmic etheric planes. 6 times the flame mounts up to confirm initiation. 6 times the cloud recedes, that which prevents an understanding of what lies ahead, an understanding of that which is not yet revealed. The cloud prevents understanding. But at the 7th, naught is seen save everlasting fire. Sounds very much like the sea of fire which generates all the lower subplanes of the cosmic physical plane. I think these are taking us, they're taking us very high, these stanzas. Now, I might be overshooting, if I am overshooting and taking this too high, well, I suppose time will reveal this to me. Always there is a lower interpretation possible, but it seems that we're dealing with the flame. To the triadal spirit. See, at the 7th has got to be the 7th initiation, and by that time, the flame is well beyond the triadal spirit. 6 times the flame absorbs the water. It's not conventional water, it's not astral water. This is alchemical. 6 times the moisture disappears, because, something, let's say, something is taken out of solution and stands in its true nature and not dissolved. But at the 7th great absorption, naught is left but iridescent fire. So what have we here? These absorptions into higher spheres are high initiations, it does seem. Not as left except iridescent fire, we can describe the sea of fire as iridescent fire. 3 times the fire envelops, 3 times the sun recedes. Now, are these the 3 periodical vehicles? These perhaps are the earlier initiations up to the 3rd. At time of the 4th, the work is done and naught is left save flame primordial, but this flame must ascend to its home. See, what is left then when the 4th initiation has taken place? That flame absorbs, resolves, receives, and remains. You wonder whether the higher, whether this is Buddhic, Atmic, Monadic, and Logoic. In these 4 words, do we have some kind of dynamics relating to the Buddhic plane, the Atmic plane, the Monadic plane, and the Logoic plane? When all that is has traversed the flame, then time is not, division is not, all is one, and there must be division if there is to be time. So a great synthesis into oneness occurs by traversing the flame. Well, these are somewhat obscure things. Somewhat obscure, but high. And we, when we talk about 7 events, we must be talking about initiations. And, as earlier stated, oftentimes the 9 are not considered in relation to the planetary life, but 7 are considered in relation to planetary life, 7 initiations. So then 4 would be the midway point, and we went through that discussion about piercing the side and wholeness and unity, eventuating the 3 keys. Maybe the last key is the key that admits to the 4th initiation, opening the heart. But then again, I'm going backwards here, as I always tend to do, as I try to more and more gather the evidence which will lead to a clearer interpretation. So the waters, prevent a clear picture of whatever it is on whatever plane may be. Waters are matter. So water and matter are synonymous terms. Water and matter are said to be synonymous terms. If I knew more about alchemy, I'd be able to describe this, but I suppose in order to have one's final product, one uses moisture and it must disappear to yield the final product. But at the 7th, great absorption into ever higher vibratory states. That's what initiation is. Absorption into the cities, into the powers, into the perspectives of a particular cosmic subplane. That is what initiation can be seen as. Ever a greater vantage point, because one is absorbed into a higher perspective. A plane and a state of consciousness are said to be equivalent. 3 times the fire envelops, 3 times the sun recedes. Well, what is this sun? The sun of lesser identity, you know, because the sun oftentimes stands for the lower ego. Perhaps. At time the fourth, the work is done and naught is left but flame primordial. Now, if we're talking about the higher, well, we can't be, are we beginning with initiation 4 and then saying 5, 6, 7, so 7 is the fourth? But I'm not sure about that. So 3 times the fire envelops, 3 times the sun recedes, something more, stars and darkness enter here. The lower sense of identity recedes in one's consciousness, and a greater sense of identity eventuates. At time the fourth, the work is done and naught is left but flame primordial, but this flame must ascend, right? So that flame absorbs, revolves, interesting if that's atmic because we have rotary motion, receives, the monad is a great absorber in a way, receiving on the second subplane of the cosmic physical plane, and remains, abides in the sea of fire. So maybe these 4 actually are showing the rising of the flame, when that is all that remains. Maybe these 3 are showing the rising of the liberated flame until it remains on the logoic plane in the sea of fire. All right, well, that's a possibility. When all that is has traversed the flame, which is in a way, the essence of the monad, then time is not, because there's such a unification that sameness is constantly perceived and no division. Then time is not, because no division is perceived. Division is not, all is one, and there must be division if there is to be time. And division is simply, what is division? Limited perception. Division is limited perception or less than whole perception. A great synthesis into oneness occurs through traversing the flame. Time is not, time never was, except through the limitation of, I'll even call it what it is, self-perception. As the absolute deity self-perceives all the content of absolute infinity, this is beyond the universe, beyond any universe. Otherwise, there's a total perception of the entirety of absolute infinity. Don't ask me how. And then there is no time. But the minute there are divisions and articulations, parts, limited, circumscribed perceptions, self-perceptions, then there is time. Oh, well, it's about 4:00 a.m. here. What can I say? Say hi. This is the end of the book. And as I say, 3 years working on it, 3.5, but really only 1.5 years really working, because sometimes it had to be deferred. A wonderful book, and really bridging into very, very high things. It's still written on the second ray along with all the treatise on the 7 rays. But in a way, Master DK wrote one big book, we know, and we have to try to relate the different parts in a meaningful manner so that illumination comes. It's very much a mercurial process, and once Mercury has made all the links, then Jupiter gives us the wholeness of what has been presented. So I hope you all will have an opportunity to study in depth by yourselves, or using some of the things I've suggested, or together using some of the things I've suggested, and maybe some of them will be useful and illuminating, and others will be just like red herrings going off somewhere, and you wonder how we ever got there. So I'm saying kind of farewell on this one, and going to move on probably to a treatise on white magic, which is a very practical book, except for the rules which deal with states and activities that cannot be practically revealed yet. The method of executing them cannot be practically revealed. There's a lot going on as well in esoteric psychology 1 and 2. Maybe I'll have to stay away from esoteric healing. I'm not so much on that line, although there are so many things in that book which can be discussed in general, and very much on the chakra system, and of course on the theme of death is there to be found, but I'm probably not going to, I mean, there's so many good esoteric healers, and they really know what they're talking about, so I'm not sure that what I might say might add anything particular, a particular value, but we'll see. My goal will be to work in these books in such a way that it's like having a conversation with you and a study group with you, and ideas will emerge, and as a result of the ideas that I have suggested, or the thoughts anyway, ideas will come from you, and more light will dawn, and more connections will be made, and maybe we'll come closer to absorbing what Master DK has presented to us over these years, and maybe we'll be closer to preparing for that year 2025, when the third installment of the teaching might well begin, and following, which is bound to be tremendously illuminating. In a way, we're sort of the rear guard here. We're trying to synthesize things that have been given. Some of the earlier students didn't have that advantage. The books weren't even totally published in their lifetime. Or if they were given out through Master Decay, they weren't published until the 60s, and many of them may have been gone by that time, or some of them anyway. Excuse me. So we have a very great advantage of having the entire work under our eye, and the Secret Doctrine, and Isis Unveiled, and all of that with which Master DK participated, all that he gave. And it's just, he would say a drop in the bucket, but for us it's like overwhelming, right? As he said, more than you can ever absorb. So I completed my goal. I wanted to finish this before Christmas or before the New Year. Anyway, I finished it before the solstice, which makes me happy and allows me to attend to some practical matters here with Tuya as we begin to broadcast things of the solstitial and Christmas themes. I love Christmas carols. They just get me in the spirit, and that time is coming now rapidly. So I'll be back with you with another book, and hopefully you'll be able to get something out of these books. I'm sure there are many things which, reviewing them, I wish I would not have said. And maybe they have not been illuminating, or maybe they've been confusing, or whatever. As you see, I'm trying to think through the matter on my own, and with the idea that, you are present. I'm trying to think through this and see what comes up based upon my previous thought and experience. So anyway, lots of love, many blessings, and we will continue this work in preparation, in assimilative preparation for the new installment, to which we indeed look forward. See you then.